just a bloke in a bar.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another Packer Up, boys. And don't forget, if you haven't, head over to our YouTube and subscribe. I tell you what, we've got huge plans coming up for our YouTube channel, so you make sure you want to subscribe. Or on a podcast, you can subscribe on Apple, Spotify. Leave a nice review. Like the video on YouTube. We've got some big things coming up on YouTube. Also, don't forget, Packer Up, boys, is brought to you by Aussie Footy Shorts. That's right, the best footy shorts in the business. Footy shorts with pockets. Not only do we have a limited edition bloke Aussie Footy Shorts collaboration, they also have thousands of different designs, and also you can customize your own footy shorts. Go to aussiefootyshorts.com.au or go to their Instagram, give them a follow. Easily the best footy shorts in the country. We could make our own and we choose not to because we'd rather work with a bloke similar to myself. He started something from nothing and he's built it into something great. I mean, that sounds really arrogant, me saying similar to myself, he built something great. I didn't mean it like that. I'm just saying he's a battler that built something, and get around him. He's an Aussie battler. Got the great Sandor here. How you going, brother?
Hey, very good, my man. Been a big week. We actually have to announce, been talking a lot about me, but we've got Matty on the mince and eggs for breakfast.
Wow,
so,
okay.
I mean, yes, he's looking good, but apparently he's feeling good too, Matty.
Is that why you've been so aggressive when you come in here? Testosterone's up.
Yeah, I think so. Full of energy. I started it on Monday. My algorithm check. It's all Sandor at the moment.
I've got pictures of Sandor in your algorithm.
Yep, 100%.
Jesus Christ. You two and your weird algorithms. Fucking.
But no, it's good. And the best part of the thing is it's actually super simple. Like you really strip it down. And I'm never hungry. Which is
Strip Sandor down or the food?
No, in this situation.
That's not hard to find.
the
these
food.
days,
No, it's good. It's going well.
Now, we've got the big fella, Jimmy Graham. How you going there, brother? Look, you're on the couch over there about 20 metres away. And I have to look through like different holes.
I'm going all right, but I do feel like a very distant, isolated, on my own a little bit.
Like a naughty child in the corner that's been
like, big man on a big couch by himself.
Can I lie down? I think I'm putting my feet up. I did a big gym session today, so
put your feet up, brother.
So yeah,
mate. I mean, there is so much to talk about with yourself. So first of all, you've got an incredible. I love the idea of getting some different people in the game where you've got coaches, CEOs, refs, you name it. It's called the Round Table Review or the Round Review.
No, Rugby League Roundtable. So
Rugby League Roundtable.
Myself hosting, Tony Mestroff, the CEO, he's Manly, Shane Flanagan, the coach, obviously the Dragons, Aaron Woods, the player, recently retired, and the journalist, Brent Reed. So we have basically the 10 hot button topics and go around, discuss
It's so good. It's so good, bro.
We've done player movement, referees and match officiating, expansion, rep football. So I think expansion comes out next Tuesday from memory. We've discussed the bunker at length, which is an episode that's already out. So
is it a 4-hour episode or what?
They go for around about an hour. So, but they could have gone for so much.
The
longer.
bunker one.
The bunker one.
I could speak about that for 2 days.
Well, we had to cut it a bit short, but it was fantastic conversation. Some great ideas in there around how we can address some of the issues. I think the overwhelming majority of the decisions that the bunker make are correct. It's just those ones that they get wrong. How we can navigate that. We come from an industry where we're striving for perfection that we never ever get. Every game that we played, even if you had a magnificent performance, there's always room for improvement. So our game's no different. So look, there's a few touches there where we think we can make those little improvements and make that decision-making process more efficient and more accurate. So a great couple of episodes. We've got one more filming to go. So it's been fantastic. And then, there's a couple of other things that I've been keeping busy with.
Oh, man, we'll get to that. But just quickly on the Rugby League round table, it's such a good concept because, like, you're getting, often you hear usually probably, I'd say 3 opinions. You've got the footy players' opinions, you've got the fans' opinions, and maybe the media's opinions. But hearing, like, the CEOs, the refs, and all, like, journalists as well, like, it's a really good way to go, well, hang on a second. Okay, for example, if you hear a CEO's perspective, you're hearing about the ins and outs of like, why do they move players on or look to get bargains? And whereas usually all we're hearing is the journalists and the players kind of perspective. So it's a really, really good concept. Just quickly on the...
Good, bro. You get the perspectives. Normally it's you hear an opinion or we hear it in the media, but they actually both get to discuss. So if there's a conflict, then we can discuss it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
100%.
Just being a statement.
100%. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a back and forth.
Yeah.
It's a back and forth. I just quickly the bunker, like I'm with you. Like I think like we definitely strive for perfection. I just think with the bunker, at least from my perspective, I just want to somehow get rid of the howler. That's it. I'm happy with a few errors or 50-50s or 70-30s going wrong. It's just the howler I want to get rid of.
Oh, mate, wouldn't we all like that? I guess the good thing about this is as well, like normally in our sport, the reaction shows, the opinion shows. It's just in the moment around one particular incident. So say, for example, the Stephen Crichton no sin binning. Against the Warriors, and people were up in arms. How can we fix this? And we sort of hit that. And we had a little touch on that incident in particular, but this was a complete overview of incidents like the bunker, player welfare, for instance. So obviously, there's a number of stories in the press around how changing and the protocols may change due to a number of incidences. There's some lawsuits going on at the moment, and to hit back and forth. Me and Brent Reed, we were in a heated, respectful debate around, well, what does it look like? Is the usual employment law, can that be applied in a sporting context? And we were back and forth a little bit, and it was really interesting conversation. How the players' point of view, some take responsibility, understand that it's not a normal working environment. Then the CEO, Tony Mestroff, he's like, well, hang on, we're responsible for these people. We've got to make sure that we, don't step outside the lines. We do have the law that we have to abide by. So it was a really great conversation,
mate. It's I love the concept. Now, you know what other concept I love? Seeing a big ginger man in spandex. That's what I fucking want to see in the off season. Now, walk us through how you ended up in a wrestling ring doing wrestling. Is it the PSA? What's a
PWA.
PWA. First of all, what is the PWA?
Pro Wrestling Australia.
Okay, now walk us through how the Big Red got in the spandex and said, you know what, I'm going to give it to him.
Look, I'm very reactive. Like, I'm a reactive person.
A reactionary.
Yes. Find it difficult to just, someone says something, just walk on by and just, let it over the head kind of thing. So I was at the Beer Footy Food Festival.
Okay.
Enjoying some refreshments there. And the PWA have a show on there.
Yep.
And I was talking to Chris, one of the organisers, and we were having a chat and saying, "Oh, look, it looks great." Like I always been a big fan of wrestling growing up.
Yep.
Yada yada yada. And he goes, "Would you ever consider giving it a go?" And I was like, "Oh, look, I don't know. I'm sure I could if I wanted to." And then Ricky South, one of the wrestlers, walked by. He goes, "Oh, mate, you wouldn't last 2 minutes." And I just sort of like, I'm having a beer, and I'm just like, you know what? I'm whatever. But he put the bait out there. Then it got brought up on radio, and I explained the story about what happened, and then he's reacted to me on radio, and then one thing led to another, and then before you know it, Grayson Waller, who's a WWE superstar, came from PWA. There was a bit of back and forth. I thought, well, there's no going back now, and won't last 2 minutes. But I had to prove them wrong. So no, it was a really enjoyable process. To be fair, I thought if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it right. So I did about 5 or 6 sessions with them. Yeah, really cool organisation. They were fun people to work with. Yeah, they looked after me as well. They did a lot for me. So, but then come match time,
were you nervous? Like it's a different, I'm obviously in a different environment.
Was I nervous? I don't know if that's the right emotion.
Okay.
I was a little bit overwhelmed.
Okay.
And I was a little bit, I was sat there before I went out. I was like, what am I doing? But then, a mate of mine, he said, mate, imagine, we used to walk to school, talk about wrestling a lot.
Yeah.
Imagine, going back to that teenage and saying, mate, you're going to get to do, a proper wrestling match.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. But then, obviously, the outfit as well, the kit was a bit shiny. But, it was the best of best option for me, and I thought personally, being very white and very ginger. So no, it was really cool. I'm really glad I did it. A few people have been asking, would you do it again? And look, I'm not going to close the door completely, but look, I think it's one and done.
You're there for a good time, not a long time.
Yes,
I tell you what, it's I always admire when people would say yes to certain things that usually are outside their comfort zone, because, like, you know, when you look back on your life, like, how many times do you get offered certain circumstances where you go, oh no, that makes me feel uncomfortable?
Yeah.
Whereas if you just did it, you'd go, fuck, I got to wrestle. Like, yeah, okay, it was a little silly, and, you know, I was nervous, and, you know, maybe I made a fool of myself or whatever. Not that you did, but you know what I'm saying. That's the fear.
You know what, mate? I think I'd regret not doing it.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
If I look back in 10 years' time, like, you know what, I should.
I enjoyed it, mate. I enjoyed watching it. I really did. And it's one of those things, as I said, like, you look back in 20 years going, hey, remember that time? Whereas the person that says, nah, not interested, they'll probably go, you know what? Maybe I should have done it, like, just to experience what it was like.
Yeah, 100%.
That's awesome, bro. That's awesome. I was enjoying the back and forth with the chatter, you know, via phone. You know, it's weird. Is like growing up, we've been so desensitized talking angrily into phones and like into like cameras. Whereas like growing up, if you were to ever to be like, hey, you know, you better blah, 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 talking into a phone, you're almost like a crazy person. Now it's like, it's normal. Like, I know it's acting in that, but it's what you do.
You know what? You're 100% right. Like, people talking BS online is the norm now.
Growing up, it was like, don't do that. That's just it.
Well, the reality of it is more consequential back when we were growing up.
Yeah,
people
true.
There's actually more than likely get a hold of it.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Matty's broken the stadium.
More than likely get a hold of you. Like, now, I guess people just respond back online. That's it. You know, if I say something negative about you, they'll say something back. It really gets us. It doesn't seem to escalate as much these days.
No, not at all. I enjoyed it. I really enjoyed it. Now, Packer Up Boys, brought to you by Grumpy Coffee. Head to grumpycoffee.com.au. The amount of feedback we've been getting, and look, I can't take credit for it because it's our Roaster co-founder, Mitch, that he is the one that come up with the blend. People are absolutely loving our coffee. It's a premium, high-quality coffee, specialty coffee, and also we've actually, hopefully I'll be able to fly to Brazil next year to actually meet the farmers that source our beans and that, which is awesome. And also I'm hoping to get to PNG as well.
Have you been to Brazil?
Huh?
Have you been to Brazil?
Have I been to Brazil?
Yeah.
No, I haven't been to Brazil.
That is like the biggest rort ever. You're going to go to Brazil, meet the roasters. Hey, how you going? Meet the growers, meet the farmers. Hey, nice to meet you. Nice to meet you. And then just piss off and go.
Oh, Jimmy, how dare you, sir? How dare you? It's a business trip. I'm there purely for business.
If the tax office is listening, I reckon that's a one-day trip. So any accommodation book post 1 day, you know, you should be paying full freight for that and not claiming it.
No way. No. I've already got the schedule. It's at least 2 weeks. There's at least 20 farms I need to get to.
That is a lot of farms. Yeah.
There's 20 farms, mate. We source the best.
Check your socials, see what you post. Yeah, be very careful. Like, just keep rotating all the different farmers, make it look like different angles. Post them over 2 weeks. That's what you got to do.
Jimmy actually works for the ATA.
Yeah, what about these? Are supposed to be my mates sending the tax man after me. Jeez Louise. No, it's a full chocolate of the block schedule. Professional only, business only. So anyway, head to grumpycoffee.com.au, grab some coffee. Our pods, now, there was obviously a delay on our pods because we had so much demand. You should have received multiple emails. First of all, one saying sorry and maybe a little gift voucher for you. And the second one letting you know that it's on its way. So it should have arrived either like this week or early next week. If it hasn't, please head to our website. Go to our contact us, and we will make sure we take care of you. But the pods should be back early next week. We've still got the ground beans, everything like that. So head to grumpycoffee.com. We've still got plenty in stock, and it's a beautiful, beautiful coffee. But yeah, boys, Sandor, what's been happening, bro? What has been happening?
Brother, just coming off that big week of sport we spoke about, but I've just been in the trenches out at the Western Sydney, brother.
Grouse Hill.
Yeah, but no, we had an overwhelming response. I'm sure there was a heap of blokes who have got around what I'm doing in terms of the nutrition stuff and that. So that's our target market, mate. It's very easy. It's a bit of a shift, but it's just going away from and having a bit of structure, a bit of accountability, going away from all the shit and just eating some meat, eggs, and fruit, brother.
Yeah,
so
I like it.
Been we launched that this week, and it's been an awesome response. So the full protocol, that's exactly what I eat, how I train.
Yep.
So it's been cool to bring it to life, bro. You know how it is, dropping something that you put some work into.
Haven't really put much work into the rig lately, but hopefully I'll get this little. I look like a melted candle at the moment. Hopefully you can get the rig back in good nick soon. Hopefully in the off season, got a bit of time. Speaking of doing things, I mean, I wouldn't say uncomfortable, but Sportsbet are sending me down to the Caulfield Cup tomorrow.
Oh, yes, that's
I don't
right.
even have a suit.
Come on, mate.
You know what I should do next year is get like, we're speaking on DMP, get like a suit, like, because everyone always takes a piss out of me, I always wear bloke merch. Get a suit that literally is like, says bloke on the back and it's like
just a
branded.
That bloke pattern, the whole suit.
The whole suit.
100%.
Going to Caulfield Cup tomorrow, so that should be interesting.
Have you got your picks?
Interesting. Picks. I don't know who I literally know nothing about racing, bro. So I just randomly picked whatever name looked good. So on the way home, I get a suit. Hey,
you've gone on names.
You literally. I don't know anything about racing, and so basically, at Sportsbet, what we're doing, me and Dan Orange, whoever gets the best picks or the worst picks after the racing season, one of us has to enter a fashion show and the other person's other person's community gets to dress them. So it's most likely going to be me getting dressed in a fashion show in the last racing. I don't know whatever the last racing thing is in December. What would the last?
I think it's in Ballarat.
Ballarat, is it?
Yeah, down in Victoria.
Okay, well there you go. So I'll be in some fashion show, dressed in most likely Taracash stuff.
I think it's literally the Ballarat race day.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, well there you go. Lock that in because I'm definitely not winning the tips comp, that's for sure. So yeah, shout out to Sportsbet. Thanks for that. Haven't bought a suit yet. Can I claim that on tax? Because it's for work.
Oh. Yeah, I'll let you off for that. Yeah.
So I'm really excited about that. Massive thanks to our Sportsbet as always, partners of the show, friends of the show. But Jimmy, how would you rate the season? Would you rate it a smashing success, solid, okay? How would you rate the general season?
As a whole, I thought it was absolutely fantastic. Think about how we started in Vegas.
Yeah.
I was there to witness that. I guess, when it first got tossed up in season 2023 that we were going to start in Vegas, I was like, oh, come on. Nice little feel-good story.
Yeah.
Fall over the line and whatever. And then it got announced and it didn't really feel real until you got there. The season launch, I was like looking around Fremont Street, just going like, wow. Like rugby league is here in Las Vegas. What a start to the season. And then I thought it was really competitive. Obviously the two best teams in Penrith and Melbourne showed their class, and that's why they were in the grand final. So many different storylines from different clubs. You look at the fall away from the Warriors, the fall away from the Broncos, the rise of the Bulldogs, even the Dragons with Shane Flanagan. There's so many great stories in and around our game. And then come finals time, State of Origin as well, 1-0 down, New South Wales, 12 men, you're like, same old Queensland. How can New South Wales resurrect themselves? And then they put on that performance in Melbourne, the first 40 minutes, and then they demolition job, a smash and grab up in Queensland. And then the season was, the way it ended, probably, you could just see some teams were just waiting to gear themselves up to finals. And then, the actual grand final itself, some people said, it wasn't an entertaining game, or there wasn't enough highlights. Well, for me, it was an amazing game. Like the level of desperation from both teams. From about 10 minutes in, you could see that like Penrith were looking to make inroads, like Melbourne were clinging on, and then Melbourne were coming, Penrith were clinging on. For me, it was a fantastic game. And if you look at some of the metrics that are really important in terms of a business point of view, it ticked a lot of it over exceeded expectations in terms of viewership. where there's some controversial moments in and around the season, absolutely, of course, that's always going to happen with a sport like ours. But I think if you're in their NRL headquarters, and for me as a fan of the game, I love the product this year.
I reckon, I always say this, and don't get me wrong, like if there's a wrong call or refs this or refs that, we'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it, and you can always say it's a wrong call, but I always fall back on this. When is the best team never won the competition? Like for example, although Storm were the best team for most of the year, Penrith were the better team in the grand final. Like, very rarely does a ref call impact the season where the best team doesn't win.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely. And I think Penrith, with the journey that they've been on, obviously they flew to England at the start of the season, that they were just waiting to peak at the right time. And their defence we can make a case for Melbourne were the best team throughout the year, but Penrith were the best defensive team throughout the year. And then in finals, they just took it to another level in terms of their application to defence. They were phenomenal. Yeah.
I think as well, it's sometimes like when people say, oh, the grand final. Now, don't get me wrong. I think the people saying the grand final was boring, I think because they're remembering last year's grand final. And I think that's the greatest grand final I've ever watched. Like, I've never said it. That, from the first minute to the 80th minute, was just like a roller coaster. You're just like, oh, what the fuck is happening? And so I think that in comparison to that, it was a little bit, it was very different. However, sometimes two good teams like the Storm and Penrith are almost like two really good boxers, where they're so fucking highly skilled.
You just have to appreciate that.
That you're not actually unless you are really educated, like highly educated in the game, you're not noticing the nuances and how hard it is to do what they're doing. So I can understand like the wider audience going, oh, last year was this. I get it for sure. Like it was so exciting last year. I just think that it was at such a high level, this grand final. Like for example, last year's grand final, the first half, I think Broncos had 50% completion rate. Like, that's not high standard. That's fucking terrible. Whereas this one, like, it was, I think that it was just two world-class boxers that refused to blink.
I think the fact that Liam Martin wins the Clive Churchill shows just how good the defensive were. So
that's
none of like the star players from Melbourne could really stand out. They were clawed back by that Penrith defence, and even look at the usual stars from Penrith. It was Liam Martin's effort areas. Obviously, you run a great line for the try. Him competing on that kick, like his kick chase was insane all game. He wins the Clive Churchill because he was the best player on the ground, and that was due to like his effort, basically.
And just to further your point, number 2 was Isaiah Yeo.
Yeah.
And I was like, if anything, Cleary had I wouldn't say quiet game. He ran 200 plus meters, but he definitely didn't have anywhere near the game we're used to Cleary seeing having.
The impact.
Line breaks were hard to come by.
Yeah.
Opportunities were hard to come by, which speaks to volumes. I think if either of those two teams play anybody else,
they smashed.
Then we'd be looking at oh no, that was a really
13
that was a really, really poor grand final. It wasn't in the balance. We at half, like the game was still in the balance. Like with the way this game is today, like when Melbourne was starting to come like towards the last 10 minutes or whatever, if they'd have taken the 2, which obviously they didn't, but the game was still in the balance.
Well, if Howarth scores, very different game. Very different game. I agree, man. I think it's been a great season, and I do think reffing wise, I actually don't think. Like, if there is one concern I've had this year, it's reffing, but I don't actually think it's the refs. I think the refs don't have enough support and resources, because we have to remember, as a few years ago, they got a ref taken away. They had 2 refs for a period. I think we need to pour more resources into giving the refs a better foundation to be. We need to either do 2 things: be much clearer in what is expected, or allow the refs to have their own interpretation and send the message out to the rest of the NRL. Yes, refs will ref different, but you need to adjust to their reffing style. So I think there's one of 2 ways we could kind of go: more by the book, or allowing refs to have a feel for the game. Because I think a lot of the time, refs are making calls they probably don't even agree with, but they're trying to do what
I believe
above is telling them to do.
I don't think they base the refereeing decisions, it's not subjective to what they think and their feel of the game. Like, no doubt some of those referees would have some great knowledge and experience based on everything they've done, But I do feel, I don't know, it's hard. When we come in with new rules and new systems, I know you have to implement them and it's got to be black and white, but I do feel it's very obvious and noticeable when we make these changes that they're clearly reffing to implement those things in the game. And I do feel like it has an impact on the game and the decision. So, I mean, I don't know what you do there. Next year, no doubt we're going to have some rule changes and things that are really important that we need to focus on, and you'll see the referees hammer them down for the first couple of games, but I don't know what you do. But it would be cool to give them a bit more of a license to referee the game based on feel knowledge, experience.
Because didn't it, like, we can all speak to this, like, especially you boys because you played footy longer, like, some like different refs, and I know they've got it to a degree today, but I do feel like there's almost a homogenization of refs where you could just plug and play any ref in. Whereas I feel back in the day, there used to be refs that like, mate, he lets you lie on the ruck, he doesn't let you lie on the ruck. Yeah. He lets a bit of niggle go, he doesn't. Whereas I feel like we're losing that like allowing refs to put their feel on the game a little bit. I could be wrong. Like I know there's much smarter minds in it than me with it, but
I'm with you on that point.
I think there was a bit of that.
It's a bit more of a uniform approach from the referees and the match officials. I think you're right what you say in terms of like there's so many areas of focus in the game of rugby league. There's so many laws of the game that aren't upheld on a regular basis. Yeah. So we look at the number of penalties that were given at the beginning of the year, then through Origin, then through the last 6 rounds. I think the penalties really peaked, and then come finals time, they dipped. Is that a coincidence? Personally, I don't think so. Yeah. But then ultimately, what happens is it's a game of cat and mouse. Yeah. So you know that the coaches and the players play to the environment that they're in. So if the referee is whistle happy, you're going to not hold down as much, and if the referee is putting the whistle away, you stay on for longer and you look to play to that environment. This year when the season started, the big focus was blockers on kicks and downtown. And there was a few penalties at the beginning of the season, and people become accustomed to it. It's like, what's that for? And it's like, well, the game's rule makers or lawmakers have identified areas that they want to see fixed. I think next year, what will come will be the play the ball.
Oh, so I was going to say, there's please.
That is an ache of the NRL fan, the real passionate fan, that the foot isn't making it. A lot of players just
at least try. They roll ball, but then how far do you want to go with this? Because it could be seen as nitpicking. So yes, we hate the roll ball, but what do you hate more? The referee blowing the whistle every 3 sets of 6, and the ruck slows down dramatically as well.
Or do we hate the roll ball? Yeah. I don't know if you can. I don't know if you can fix one without affecting the other.
I'd be willing to cop penalties initially to stop the players from doing it.
They went hard at it when I was still playing 1 year. I forget when it was. It must either the last.
I'd be willing to cop at least 3 or 4 weeks of the ref going hard at it, because it is a pet peeve of mine when they just go straight through the middle of their legs and don't even because it changes it from a 3-second play the ball to a 2.5 second play the ball. That's the difference between fucking try and no try.
It's going to be interesting how they quote unquote tackle it, because
you're filthy when you get a penalty though.
Oh man,
are you serious?
Well, I guess the way to fix that is don't do it.
Yeah.
But then that environment. Well, if they're doing it and we're not, and you're not blowing it, I'm just going to do it.
If you're the NRL, do you go, we've sent a letter out to every club, you let the public know the letter's been sent out? Because sometimes the NRL sends letters out, they don't let anyone know they've sent the letters out. So the fans have no idea that letters have been sent out about a crackdown, and a crackdown starts and everyone's going, what the fuck's going on here?
Transparency.
Whereas I reckon if the NRL said, guys, they come out public and say, we have let every club know, you must make an attempt to play the ball. If they do not, we will ping them. I think then maybe fans will be a bit more like, I can cop it. But you're right, though. The problem is, how far do you go with it?
And again, you know what? It's the big C word in rugby league.
Crackdown.
Crackdown and consistency.
Consistency.
Where it's like, well, hang on a minute. That was a penalty against me, but I'm going to send you a multitude of examples. Or the fan's going to say, well, they've not been playing the ball all game. It's like, Yeah.
And
Mate.
as you know, that communication will come out. It goes out to the NRL, goes out to the teams, and then every team has a period of time, usually in January, where they get the refs in and they go through their scrimmage, and the refs are trying to coach them on what's going to be implemented. So it'll be a big
Mate,
one.
I'm probably different to a lot of people in this regard. Like I might be in the minority, but I cannot stand people that don't make an attempt to play with their foot, because I think ruining the fabric of the game is a dramatic statement, but I think it changes the flow of the game so dramatically when you don't have to worry about putting your foot to touch the ball, because you can play the ball with blokes hanging on you. Whereas if you have to try to put your foot on it, you can't, because if you've got a bloke hanging on you, you can't stand on one leg. Whereas if you've got a bloke hanging on you and you don't have to put your foot on it, you can stand on two legs and get the ball through your legs. The best teams are the best at it. They don't even bother putting their legs on the ball. But I do see the downside of it. I do see us sitting there going, shit, why are we giving penalties for that? Man, I will say, I don't envy the NRL. It would be so hard, man. It would be so hard.
You end up shitting yourself, though, as a player. Like, once that rule came in and everyone was carrying on about it, and there was one penalty, you really took your time.
Yeah.
So put it down. But, yeah, I agree. Just get rid of the roll ball. I think that's the easiest way to
At
put
least
it.
try. There has to be an attempt.
The roll ball's obvious.
The only thing is, though, the referees have got so much going through their head.
I know.
Offside,
One thing I will say,
mark,
touchies need to do more.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Sometimes I watch and I'm like, I just feel like they could do a little bit more responsibility-wise. Again, you know what? I'm sure if I sat down with a touchy, he'd fucking blow my mind with how much they actually do. Yeah. But I just feel like they don't do as much as they potentially could. Anyway, look, what I will always grant, it is hard, man. It is not as easy as it's simple, just change this. It never is.
I'm not signing up for a role.
No way.
NRL HQ, administrator, or match official.
Nah.
No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
Just don't have to crack down in Magic Round like the other year.
Oh, don't bring that up. That was... Do you remember that crackdown?
I do.
Oh, my God.
That was
wild.
bizarre.
That was genuinely wild. Alrighty. Boys, first of all, we've got a segment called Algo Check, and what that is an algorithm check. And basically what it is that your phone is almost a reflection of what you are or what you're doing at this stage, because it's an algorithm and so we each go around and say, what is your algorithm today? What's been going through your algorithm? So Sandor, what's your algo like these days?
I'll tell you what, I was just going to go check. I've actually downloaded this app called Opal, and it locks me out of Instagram from 9 till 5 every day.
What?
And I started off with it because, bro, I don't know if you've done this before.
Doom scroll.
Bro.
Yeah.
So firstly, you check your screen time and you're like, all right, this is embarrassing.
Yeah.
But then you get this app and it tells you how many times you pick it up and go to attempt to go on social media.
It's like once every 3 minutes or
and
some
you
shit.
realise you're a junkie. It's an addiction. So I started off with you can crack it and you just have to wait 30 seconds. Now I just fully cut myself off and it's a vault and it won't even let me in.
How do you feel?
At first, I felt weird, and then there's other times I'm like, I fucking need to go on Instagram. I need to do something. But I feel better knowing that I'm not just wasting hours and hours in the day scrolling.
Far out, eh?
That little guilty feeling, you're like, what
did I do? Yeah, I hate when you don't actually know you're doom scrolling, and then you wake up in 30 minutes and go, what the fuck am I doing? That's the worst feeling.
But I'll tell you what, my algo is, it's just, we spoke about this last week, it's Ned Brockman, bruh. It's just
the
flat
great
stick.
Ned.
I've got on a couple comments and I feel like it's just sprayed me. But man, I said this last week and I've been saying it to everyone that I've been interacting with this week. The standards have been set. Like anything you're doing, anything that you're complaining about, you look for a little bit of inspiration from Ned, and so all of your shit is insignificant. Get on with it. Endure it, conquer it, get over it.
100%. Matty, what's the algo looking like?
Well, as mentioned before,
Pictures of Sandor.
It's it really is. It's kind of like little shot recipe 30-second things to for ideas to make high protein food. I never thought I thought
we've been here before. Lovely.
Yeah. No, it's interesting.
Are you turning into Sandor?
I hope so.
Mate, my algorithm is computer parts. So I've been doing a lot of research on, because I had to, my computer where I do my work on busted itself. So I had to get a new one. And so just been doing research on what computer parts are good, what aren't good. upgrades, this, that, and the next thing, graphics cards, processors for rendering, all that stuff.
Oh, wow.
So my algorithm is computer parts. Mate, I actually used to know how to build PCs.
Swear.
Yeah.
I've got a gaming PC just for my office, and it's the best.
Oh,
it
really?
Just works like a dream.
No way.
I don't use it for that.
You don't use it? Okay, really? Mate, you got to get into gaming, bro. You got to get into gaming. It's the new thing. What about you, mate? What's the Argo looking like?
A bit all over the shop. American politics is big
really?
on YouTube, popping up.
Okay. Are you a politics man?
It just sort of happens sometimes.
It's entertainment, that. Really.
Yeah.
It's fucking psycho.
I recently finished watching the Menendez case.
The actual Netflix one, documentary, or the show?
Well, I'm halfway through the document. I did the show, and now I'm doing the documentary.
Which is better?
The show.
I think you need to do the show straight into the doco.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight into.
It's not as much.
Yeah.
Okay. I've done the show.
Then.
What do you reckon?
At the end of it, I was like,
spoilers if you haven't heard it. We're about to get into spoilers.
Yes.
Well, no, at the end, they talk about the old man coming over as part of the Cuban Revolution when Castro took over, and I was like, what went on there? So I've been trying to find out about like this overthrow of the government.
Yep.
Let me ask you this, Jimmy. Do you think the allegations of the abuse from the father is real or not?
I don't believe him.
I don't believe it either. My missus does.
The same with my missus does too, and that's what's crazy because in the show, the women jurors believe it and the men don't believe it.
Well, look, I think if you listen to what some of the witnesses say in the first trial, where they're like, this guy was like a nut job father, I reckon.
There's a difference, though, isn't there?
I reckon there's an extreme version of events which the lads presented, and then there's
the truth always in the middle.
Like, I reckon I don't know if it's as extreme as what the lads presented, but I reckon there's probably some level of abuse that's taken place.
Physical abuse, not the S. I reckon physical abuse for sure.
Yeah, they basically admitted that there's plenty of witnesses that saw that. This comes up in the doco, but then I don't know,
mate. So the thing that sent me over the edge, where I don't believe it, is their lawyer used the same defense in the thing before, and they didn't tell anyone about it until they met her. How does that make sense? So they could have told people millions of times over, but they only told it after they met the woman that was the lawyer that used the same defense as before.
Did you also pick up on this detail? Because the first tribunal to the second is like night and day. The first one was a dream run. They got, but the second one, the guy who comes on, the legal counsel, he's a weapon. Yeah. He absolutely rips him. But he shows a book that is basically like for like of the stories that they're telling.
Yes,
so
that's it.
I'm done.
I'm done.
Yeah. Even like the whole the court system, like you need a good lawyer.
Yeah.
And even all the the subplots going on in the background about it's about elections politically. The state governor wants to get in. They just had the OJ case.
Horrible timing.
The riots. The racial injustice. Was it Rodney King?
Rodney King got beaten up.
That was all happening at the same time. That they needed a win to show.
You got no chance.
Yeah, all these things factor in, but it's interesting now. Halfway through the doco, as I said, but. So that's all popping up. And then, mate, I said this on my podcast. I actually went to a school with a bloke, and I was actually in elementary school, primary school, that he killed his mum and dad.
What?
Wow.
Seriously.
What?
Seriously.
Did they do bad things to him, or he was just a psycho?
Very long story. Could don't go down a big rabbit hole. But look it up. Brian Blackwell, his name was.
Yeah.
I went to school with this bloke, and it was in primary school. It was and then he left. He went to a private school. I was in the normal system.
Yep.
And then I'd sort of seen him around a little bit, and then it was in the news. He'd be about 18. He did it. It's bizarre.
Wow.
Yeah, I had a friend growing up that killed someone when they got older. Just crazy.
Yeah.
Just crazy, bro.
This guy Brian Blackwell, he did it, and he took his dad's credit card, took his missus over to America for a 6 weeks trip. Came back, and the bodies were still there.
Oh wow!
Right. And then he said to his missus, "Oh, mum and dad were away in Spain with which wasn't uncommon. Gonna stay at yours." And then it was bizarre.
Oh,
it rocked
wow.
the community insane. It's
Oh
good.
my
It's
God.
good document, an interesting documentary on.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that doco, the real one, will shift your opinion?
Has it shifted your opinion from the TV show?
For me so far.
I'm kind of torn on the two trials. I think the first trial you're like, but then why would he be bragging about it to that?
Oh, what about all the dumb shit he did?
That's what I'm saying, bro. That's what I'm saying. And also, like, first of all, I want to be clear. I think the dad was physically abusive. Yeah. Like, I think they got bashed. I think he was a psycho.
Yeah.
It's just that other stuff. I just, like, why wouldn't you tell, like, before? When you get pinged by the cops, wouldn't you immediately be into that story?
And also, they're basically claiming some form of self-defense to lower the charges. Yeah. And, like, we know that's bullshit. Yeah. Like, you didn't do it because you were genuinely scared of getting killed,
like, as well, like,
in my opinion.
How many lies did they tell? Like, 1 million. And then we're supposed to believe... I know that other people have sort of corroborated, but not really.
It's one of them as well. Like, if you think, like, someone's out to murder you, that's extreme within itself.
Yeah.
Can you be honestly sat there thinking, I think mum and dad are going to try and pop us off here? Like, that just...
Wouldn't you go to the cops as well?
That doesn't happen, does it?
The reason the doco, the real one's got me is because, you know, I know it could be clickbait, but that's where Kim Kardashian's come out and said, like, she wants to campaign to get him out of prison, this and that. So I'm like, well, is there something I'm missing?
What the
Well,
hell?
I think it's gone off after this show. People are saying, and I guess obviously it's, you know, allegations of sexual abuse, and there's a big
terrible
thing happening online now to say, well, let's free the Menendez. It's been 30 years life without parole.
Man, I tell you what, if what they're saying is true, then I'm glad the parents fucking got killed. Like, if the parents really did all that terrible stuff, I'm happy.
Yeah, it's a very different conversation. And
100%.
Yeah, like, just to be clear, that's my opinion after watching the show. It could be true, and if it is true, very different conversation, but just from what I'm watching, that's just my opinion.
I agree with you on that, where, like, I'm not saying I know for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying if I had to make a bet either way, I'm not believing him, but there's room for me to go, oh, man, like, maybe.
The series itself did a great job in playing and toying with your emotions.
Yeah.
Where you go from, like, being like, I like these people, I don't like these people. Now I've switched, now I've changed. Like, the way and I guess that's where people really need to be careful, because it's based on true events, but this is a drama.
Yeah, it's dramatized up.
And it plays and toys with the emotions. Things like the music that they play and the suspense in one scene. Like,
you're right.
It's not really happening with that music, and it does play with you, and it makes you think, oh no, this guy, it definitely happened. No, it did. No, it didn't.
That's why I had to watch the doco, because you know you're watching this show going, well, this is like a movie. I don't know if it's even the dad in the hotel room, the Spartan. I'm like,
I'll tell you what is interesting
real?
about
How
that.
are you saying this?
Exactly. Tell you what's interesting about that. Initially, when they killed the parents, I didn't really feel that much, but then the episode where you get to know the dad and they killed him, I was like, I felt so much worse for the mother and father, which is such a great point to what you're saying, is that I've been manipulated. Like, the same events happened, like they were killed.
They favour one person.
The first time I didn't care. I was like, fuck them. Like, they're terrible people.
Yeah.
By the end of it, when you got to know this guy that came from nothing, and okay, he's physical abusive, that's not good, but his father was that, and he's just doing his best, and then they get killed, and you feel so much more worse for him. So yeah.
That one episode where it's basically one scene, like one
that's
take,
crazy.
where he's explaining the story to his defense lawyer, like that, you're just all in on the boys. You're like, oh man, like I'm with them now. But you know what? Even you say about the doco, it's like, well, again, like it's edited in a way to make you to keep those thoughts going. It's not like.
And keep swapping sides.
It's not definitive.
It's factual. It's not definitive. It's not like it's not a case.
Yeah.
It's designed to make you go, one way or the other. You know, like they could have taken things out from the doco, kept things in.
You know what about the real doco? Like, I'm hearing these voice recordings and they're giving opinions, but I'm expecting them just from their mouth. Like, tell me, tell me, like, no, this is bullshit and this is what really happened and I said this. There's none of that. It's very neutral.
Oh, man.
That was a good rabbit hole.
Great rabbit hole.
Very good.
Well done.
Very good.
All right, tonight, Australia versus Tonga. Don't forget, get down and watch the game. $25 for adults, $50 for family passes. Visit nrl.com/tickets to secure your seats. That's a bargain. $25.
Great.
For adults, $50 for families. Get down. It's the first time Australia has faced Tonga since they defeated us in 2019. So get down and watch the game. It's going to be a bell ringer. Look at that forward pack for the Tongan side.
Quick question. How many times do you reckon Australia has ever played Tonga?
4?
2.
Eventful?
Two. And I didn't believe it this morning, so I checked with Rando, and he confirmed it.
That is, when you actually think about that, that is actually insane how far Tonga have come, that they've been, I guess, relegated is not the right word, but like not even able to play Australia, and they're already have beaten us. So that was the second time they ever played us, they beat us.
Yep.
That's insane.
What?
Unless we've both missed something, but for everywhere I looked, it was 2. One in 2018, one in 2019.
I'm sure there might have been like some maybe non-professional games, maybe.
Possibly, yeah.
That's crazy. Shows you how incredible what Tonga have done. Like, only played us twice, one time they beat us. 50% record. Wowzers. All right, boys. Who we got tonight? Tonga or Australia? I'm going to go Australia. People think it's going to be a big win. I don't think so. I think Australia's going to be pretty clunky. I think I'm a bit worried about the size of Tonga's pack. I know we've got a mobile pack and we're going to try and run them off the ground. I'm just a bit worried that international game will be a bit slower, and that favours the big pack of Tonga. But I do think, and obviously Moses is coming back, hasn't played a lot of footy, but I reckon 12 to 14 point win for Australia.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a closer game than most people think. I'm back in Australia for 2 reasons. One is because we are in some ways actually coming in the underdog. You know, Tonga have something to prove and play for. So I think if it was the other way around and we'd smack Tonga the last game, there'd be a little bit of fear there.
Yeah.
And I just think
when you say underdog, you just mean they beat us last time.
Yeah, exactly right. So I feel like, and that's going to play in our favour. We do actually have something to prove. So the boys will want to be coming into this as opposed to just red hot, ridiculous favourites. And then I also think there'll be a little bit more cohesion with the Australian team based on, you know, the amount of players that have played together in Origin and stuff like that. So I think that'll get it done.
Okay. What are you thinking?
Yeah, look, I really like what Tonga have done over the past couple of seasons. And look, I'm leaning towards a tight Australian victory. I think what Tonga have in their favour is that this is a team that have been together for such a long time now. Like, they've got young Izzy Katoa steering them around. Like, they've got a great forward pack. We know that's their strength, and they know how to play to their strength. They've got a great coach in Christian Wolf, who knows the group extremely well. They've got so much passion and pride. I'm expecting there to be thousands upon thousands of Tongan fans at Suncorp Stadium. Like, playing in front of those Tongan fans was my favourite ever international memory. The best crowd that I've ever played at.
Wow.
Without question.
That's as a pommy as well. Like, you've had
played at Old Trafford, played at Wembley. Nothing beats playing in front of those Tongan fans. They are incredible. Yeah. They really are. But I just think with Australia, they'll just have a little bit too much class in the outside backs with people like, you know, the Hammer and Tommy Tebojevic at centres. That's some talent in there. So I think they'll just have enough. And obviously, with the big lads of Tonga, big outside backs, Mitchell Moses kicking game as well. Like, he's an expert with the boots, so expect them to get turned around nice and early.
I think as well, funnily enough, I think actually the Ponga situation may have helped Australia. And why I think that is because it's brought into the focus of, like, does this jersey actually mean enough to Aussies? Like, are we, as Australians, have we become so complacent in rugby league specifically? And this whole Ponga argument, I think Mal Meninga is going to use that to his. I know. Eventually, it's all got sorted. I'm not suggesting Ponga and Mal Meninga have any issues. What I'm saying is, we had a superstar player say, "I just want to focus on my club team." I personally don't think you'd ever see a Samoan, Tongan, Kiwi, maybe even an Englishman, I'm not sure, do that. No and way. I think it's brought into focus for Australia.
I like what you're saying. It's brought it to the forefront. That
Hang on a sec, guys. Yeah. Do we love this jersey as much as we carry on?
I think it's warranted, that conversation.
Absolutely. So I think that may have galvanised the team to come out and be playing with the passion that the jersey probably. I'm not saying blokes haven't played with passion before, but I do get the sense that other countries, it does seem to mean a little bit more at times. Not for everyone, but some players.
No, I agree. I think it became the glamour jersey that was like the pinnacle of rugby league. You make the Australian team, at least on these shores, you know. But I think it needs to go back to having a little bit more tradition, a little bit more culture around it for sure.
Yeah, and just to mean everything. And Melbourne, he's actually been trying to put that back into the jersey for a while. And funnily enough, I think this Ponga situation, it's almost like you've drawn the poison out and said, here it is, it exists. This is the symptom of everyone's been kind of talking about it for a while in Australia about the passion for the jersey, this, that, and the next thing. Well, here it is. Like maybe there isn't. So I actually think it might be a good thing. What do you reckon, Jimmy?
Yeah, look, I think the jersey. When you think back about those old school kangaroo tours, that you speak to players from yesteryear, Steve Blocker-Roach, and players of that ilk, Junior Pierce, like they loved it. Like there was nothing better than going away on a kangaroos tour. And there's a multitude of reasons why that changed and why almost state of origin overlapped it. And obviously Origin, the beast that it's become. It is over and above the international game, and obviously with the intensity of the season, the idea of playing more games post-season can be quite overwhelming. It's a long, hard slog of a season, but you've surely got to want to play for your country, no matter the circumstances. For me, playing for England at the end of the year was a bonus. Didn't matter how many games I played, I was all in to play for England. So, look, the way it elevates itself is by putting on blockbuster games. They've got one of those tonight against Tonga. They'll play New Zealand in a couple of weeks' time, and hopefully for Australia a final at Combank Stadium in a few weeks as well. So we've got the Ashes coming over here in 2025, followed by the World Cup, which really should put the spotlight on International Rugby League. The Ashes series, the first time in such a long time, reignite that hatred between the English and the Aussies. That's like, don't underestimate the power of hate. When New South Wales and Queensland go up against each other, it's not because it's like, oh, we're going to play a great game of rugby league. It's more about, I hate you, and I'm going to embrace that hate. And I think when the English come over, it's got to be, no, we hate each other.
Yeah,
like we hate each other. That's what big sporting rivalry is about. It's respectful, but it's a big, powerful beast hate.
I mean, look at the cricket with Australia versus England. Like it is so it's so good. The drama,
it's fiery, it's aggressive. It puts bums on seats. Like it makes people tune in when you see, like, if you think about a boxing match or an MMA fight, like when they talk trash about one another and they genuinely hate each other, you want to see who's going to be the winner here. If they're a bit nice, like, oh well, may the best person win. But when they hate each other, you want to tune in.
And it's a lot. It also becomes a lot more about the team you hate losing or equal than you. Like, I'm watching England versus Pakistan at the moment, and I'm going for Pakistan. Just because I want to see England lose.
That's it.
All right, don't forget, guys, head to begoodhealth.com.au, the best multivitamin all the land. Tom and Eddie's multivitamin, Good Day. I use it every day. Super simple, super easy. You've got a little satchel, boom, put it in your water. You can drink it any time. So convenient. So get around the boys. Use code DRIBBLERS for 20% off, or I think DMP or Bloke. Plenty of ways to get 20% off. Also, don't forget, Ned Brockman is our hungriest player this week. Use code NED, N-E-D-D. Don't forget the 2 Ds, N-E-D-D, for free delivery, any orders over $30. Free delivery, any orders over $30. Use code NED. And just quickly, guys, it's Fiji versus PNG. Who are we going? I'm going PNG for the upset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I want Fiji.
PNG upset.
I'll take Fiji.
You take Fiji? They got a great side on paper. I just think there might be a bit more cohesiveness in the PNG side. I think on paper, I think the Fiji side's probably better.
Yeah.
But I just think that in that first international game where you're a little bit clunky and, I think it matters that you've played a bit of footy together. And I'm not saying they've played way more footy together, but I'd assume that more PNG players have played a bit more footy together. I just have to.
I'm always a fan of seeing PNG get the win, though, to be honest.
Because there'd have to be some players from their Hunter side in the Queensland Cup, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
And so that core, surely that should help. But yeah, I'm going PNG for the upset. Alrighty, that's us done and dusted, guys. Don't forget, grab some Grumpy Coffee at grumpycoffee.com.au. The best coffee in all the land. All the feedback we've been getting. Beautiful, beautiful tasting coffee. Whoop. Sorry, there we go. Got meetings galore today, guys. So I've got to get to them. Got to buy suits, got to do everything. Make sure, Rugby League Roundtable on YouTube. Subscribe to the Buy Round. Anything else going on?
No, that's pretty much it. Actually, no. Make my acting debut this week.
Oh,
as well.
No way.
Yeah.
He's having a
in
good run.
Plum. Brendan Cowell, he wrote the book Plum.
Yeah.
That's on ABC this week. I think
Stop it.
Episode 1 I'm in as well. So
No way.
yes, there's a fair bit going
Saw
on.
an ad for that this morning. Actually, it looks good.
Yeah, there's
That's
a few,
mad.
A few old footballers in there. It's a great story as well. So,
That's mad.
Yeah, get tuned in.
Sandor, anything going on, mate?
Mate, just check out if you're keen to make a change, get shredded for summer, get rid of the bloke belly. Nothing wrong with a bloke belly, but if you do want to get rid of it, check out Animal Fuel. But otherwise,
Why'd you look at me when you said that? I'm trying to build an empire here, mate.
That's what
Come
I mean.
on,
You're
mate.
trying to stay in character, so you have to do it. That's
Wow, mate, not all of us can be naturally hot, all right? Fuck me. Get around it, guys. Get around it. And as usual, we'll go and fuck ourselves. Thank you.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.